My name is Cameron Barsanti, CEO and founder of storagelife. What is storagelife? We're a community across the country, finding, funding, operating self-storage together. We teach you how to do it, or we help you scale your existing portfolio. If you want to know more, check us out, storagelife.com. Today, we're going to dive in on how to find good deals on the market. As you guys know, we are primarily off-market storage hunters. That is our expertise. That is where we spend 90% of our time and money finding great discounted property off-market, direct to seller. However, we also find and look on market. We closed 58,000 square feet on Monday on market. Took us about 9 months. It was brutal, but we did it. And so we're going to dive in and show you guys and teach you guys how to actively also look on the market. You should be doing both simultaneously, always. All right, guys. Well, 4 years ago, when everybody was selling stuff at like 4 caps on market, over asking, bidding wars, we weren't looking on the market at all. Through this course of higher interest rates, sellers slowly becoming more and more reasonable, we're starting to find more deals on the market. I'll give you an example. I'm selling a deal through a broker, but we're selling for $8 million, but I had actually 5 offers a year ago for over $9.5 million. Yes, I'm taking a huge haircut. There's many reasons why we're still gonna sell it. We're gonna make a great profit, but I'm just showing you that even me, who I consider myself an experienced operator, and I know the game, I'm still willing to take a deep discount from where my property was at about a year and a half ago. So even I have to face the music of markets changed. So do the sellers eventually, okay? So we're gonna break it down. Again, any questions, hit us up. Find me on Facebook, DM me, Instagram, Cameron Barsanti. Happy to help, okay guys? Let's look at my screen here. I'm gonna give you a run through and then we're gonna break it down even further, right? So we're looking at targeting the right listings on the market, right? Find older listings, obviously, stale listings, and especially look for listings that are listed by a non-storage or a residential broker. So quickly you can do research on that broker. You know, if you're on Crexi or LoopNet and you see a listing that is listed by Argus or Marcus and Millichap or Matthews or, you know, whatever, Charlie Hope, right? So those are storage brokers. They know the value, they know the game. Most likely you're not going to get a deep discount. However, I'm going to dive in a little bit later at how we actually just closed a deep discounted property through Marcus and Millichap. So there's always exceptions to the rule, right guys? Okay, so when you find a listing that's listed by a non-storage broker, here's what's going to happen. A lot of times the broker, either the listing may not be that great, it may not be exposing some really important information, like there's seller financing terms in place. And there's times we've seen that without even it being mentioned on the listing. Or let's say Mr. Seller has a friend that's a broker who's a residential broker, and Mr. Seller goes, hey, can you list my property? And they go, sure. And they don't really know what they're doing. It's not their asset class. And so other times it's at either a deep discount, or when they start getting offers in, they don't really know how to navigate that asset class, which makes room for us coming in and potentially educating, helping that seller and the broker, and really actually kind of solving the problem for them and often getting a discount, right? So that's obvious. Okay, so what else we got here? Looking for properties, leads with offers. Make an offer regardless of the price. Even though there's an on-market listing, if it's sat for 300 days for $4 million and you call the broker and the broker says they're stuck at 4, and you're like, yeah, but this has been listed for 300 days. They're stuck at 4 million, but it's not worth 4 million, right? And the broker's like, well, I know, but seller's stuck. So now we got to take it a step further and clearly help the broker understand, look, we get it. This is going to sit. We both know it. So we're here to help. Here's how we can help. We'd like to build rapport with you and the seller and let you guys understand we're the real buyer. We're going to help you solve this problem. It's not going to be at 4 million unless there's creative finance. Broker will say something like, yeah, but creative finance is not available. So you've asked the seller, yeah, I mentioned to them 6 months ago and they said no. Okay, but it's been 6 months, but they said no. Look, can we get on a Zoom call, right? Can we get face to face with the seller? You're obviously representing us. Let's talk. Let's educate the seller, but often the broker. I'm not dissing brokers, but there's brokers that are newer than other people, right? It doesn't matter. We're here to help. Let's figure this out. Get on a Zoom. Maybe we throw the underwriting up. We talk about expenses. Broker and us will probably have similar notes, and we slowly but surely educate the seller so they understand that their property is not worth 4 million. Nobody is going to pay that price, but through creative financing, maybe it's even a lease option, we've figured out a way where we can pay them close, or they can make that full $4 million mark, but it's going to be a 10 years in interest payments, right? Whatever that is, but we come up with a problem. We're empowering and educating both the seller and the broker. Guys, this is how this is done. This is how this works. It works. All right, we're controlling the narrative. We ensure the broker can confidently explain selling your offer. So a lot of times they won't let you meet up or not yet with the seller. So you're gonna say, take this to the seller, but here's what you need to tell them. Do you understand? Make sure they understand the deal. Nothing's getting lost in translation, okay? Now, going back to creative financing, using the 3-option framework, right? So we're literally gonna offer 1 conventional, 2 creative seller finance options. We always have that. If you want that, just drop something in the comments and we're happy to give it to you. But I always offer 3 options, 2 creative finance, even when they tell me they're not interested. Why? Because that offer is gonna show them that the much lower offer is conventional, and if they really wanna make more money, they're gonna accept a creative finance offer. Also, there's psychology behind the 3 option. It works so well. This is something we do pretty much on every single deal. All right, building rapport, we've talked about it. Invest in the broker relationship. Show you're serious, reliable, you're easy to work with, and you're gonna make it clear that you're the best buyer option, easiest option for this scenario. You're gonna save the day, basically. All right, so educating on creative finance, right? You're confirming they fully understand your option. Seller carry, hybrid structures, term-based deals, right? If they don't teach them, respectfully, obviously. Talked a little bit about it, getting in front of the seller, Zoom calls, in person, nothing beats a handshake. This is basic, but this is all you need to do to start getting and closing deals on the market. Okay, so now I'm gonna tell you about a deal we just closed. Marcus and Millichap, great brokers. One had been in the business for a long time, and then the other is a little bit newer, but she's great. They're both really hard workers. We kept in touch. They had a large portfolio, and the portfolio was struggling. We were told that they were storage owners and operators that own this portfolio. We quickly were like, oh, it's a expensive portfolio. It's owned and being sold by large storage brokers. There's no discounts. What's next? What we were missing, there's a lot of specifics within this deal that we didn't have context to yet. We didn't understand. And what it really meant was there was a lot of things we assumed that weren't true. We assumed that they really were storage owners. As we started looking into their portfolio, we realized they weren't. Their websites were bad, their SEO, their marketing, things weren't adding up. So we were like, wait a minute, I actually don't think these guys are primary storage operators. I think they're investors who built a large portfolio that are really struggling to manage it properly. So then we started seeing value. We also weren't, no matter what the broker was telling us they wanted, we were going to put our offer anyway. This is our offer, I understand, and it sounds like you might be getting higher offers. This is what we can pay, but guess what? We're gonna close. We're building confidence with the broker that we are the buyer, we're really serious, we're really interested. We ended up getting the deal under contract, and then we show up, and this deal was in really bad shape. Way worse than we thought. It was distressed all around, even operationally. There was somebody living on property that wasn't even supposed to be there. I mean, it was bad. So we went back and we're like, wow, this was a lot worse. If we're gonna do this, we need X amount of credit. It was a big discount we asked for, a couple $100,000. We got it. We didn't think we were gonna get it, but we did. Sorry, this might be a deal killer. By the end of this really long, crazy, I'm gonna spare you the rest of the details. The bottom line is we ended up closing at a much deeper discount. I think all said and done, after we spend $200,000, we're paying $36 a foot. That is awesome. Day 1 cash flow with tons of upside. All we did was follow what we just went over. We just did the steps. We do the steps we always do. We build rapport, build a trusted relationship, help them understand where we're coming from, why we're offering, and also why we're gonna close. And then we worked with them and the sellers nonstop through a lot of obstacles, but we got the deal done. One last tip, brokers are talking to so many sellers. They don't always have everything under contract. Sometimes there's maybe a seller they can't quite get something under contract for. And so we say, hey, look, send us a deal. Maybe it's a little bit hairy. Maybe you know there's some tricks to this deal. There's some additional challenges. Or maybe you have something you can't quite get under contract, but if you want to talk about it and you want me to sign an NDA, I can create an offer that's real. And maybe you want to go back to your seller and talk about it. Maybe that's the way they represent you and we can buy this deal. Bottom line is we're here to help, right? Always leading with value. Now imagine if all we talked about today, you continue to do. You're going to quickly stand out from the rest of the operators, the rest of your competition, right? What we talk about every week, what we work on in Storage Life, we are all, my community, we're all embodying this professionalism, this regiment, this consistency that we do over and over again, whether it's a broker, a wholesaler, direct to seller, right? We just keep doing the same things and we get better and better at doing them. If you can be consistent and do this, you are going to separate yourself from the majority of the pack. You're going to become the 1% or the 5%, right? The people that are actually consistently building relationships and getting deals. okay? So on market, don't get lost in Crexi or LoopNet. Learn how to identify opportunity and plug yourself in. Hope this helps. Good luck. Peace.